works.
Is there issues?
It's going to work.
There you go.
It'll work. Yes.
This is good.
It worked.
And it all fits.
This is good.
One mug.
Live on Facebook.
This is the shelf life. Unlimited. That's what it says on here.
Well, it's Imperial.
Yeah. Big fan of that. Did you talk to Father Ketterer at all before coming on here?
No.
He's been on our show a couple times.
I didn't even tell him I was coming.
Oh, man.
I was at my parents' house because I didn't want to cook dinner. I knew my mom was.
I also don't like cooking dinner.
Yeah.
I just didn't.
I'm not very good at it.
Sometimes
I can grill.
Okay.
Sometimes
I can grill.
Pamela will be gone at lunchtime, and if we don't have any like frozen chicken nuggets, I panic a little bit. There has literally been times where I said, you know what, I'm just gonna fast for lunch.
Yeah. I think I'm fasting today.
That is easier than
Sometimes
like
I do.
having
so
to
does that mean
figure
that
this
actually
out.
fasting is not as efficacious?
I think
Because you're taking the easier way
I
out
think
by fasting?
in that moment, it's less efficient. It's not
It
zero
would be more
efficacious.
penitential to cook
Maybe
on some occasions.
cook and then don't eat it. Now we're. That's the good stuff right there.
Today, I am here to give you the assurance that I have not forgotten you.
If we want to see the new evangelization become more than just jargon, if we want to see it grow legs and gain traction and change the world, we have got to take seriously our responsibilities as husbands and fathers, and especially as sons of God.
I want to propose to you then that something that our world is desperately in need of in the midst of this crisis is Catholic Christian masculinity.
If you want to be a good father, then bring your children to confession with you.
I can't get there unless I become a man of ascesis, a man of asceticism, a man of training.
A man not doing penance, a man not disciplined, is not a man.
You guys have upped your game.
You know what, guys? I gotta say, I love the concept of Man Show.
Warning: the Catholic Man Show is about to begin.
Welcome to the Catholic Man Show. We're on the Lord's team, the winning side, so raise your glass. Happy Thanksgiving, y'all. It's time of thanks. I'm Adam Minahan, sitting here in studio with David Niles. We have Juan Posada, El Producer, on the buttons. Jim Spencer is here, and he has reminded us several times that we are forgetting things to do on the show.
Thanks, Jim.
Which we will make sure to do. And then we also have a very special guest, another priest from the Diocese of Tulsa in eastern Oklahoma. As we have said before, like, Tulsa is the place. Eastern Oklahoma is the place for Catholic culture.
We're making Catholicism cool again here in Tulsa, I think.
Yes, we have, and we just have wonderful priests, including Father Jon Fincher. Father Jon, thank you so much for being here with us this evening.
You are how long a priest?
A year and a half. 2
Okay.
years, going on 2 years.
Excellent.
So I was ordained in 2020 in the midst of the pandemic.
You studied in Rome?
I studied in Rome and in Dallas, Texas.
Nice. So let me ask you this. This is, I think, really the big question. I'm just going to start off with the big question.
Oh, man.
If you were to have a Cardigan contest with Father David Carvajal, who would win?
I would win.
You think so?
Hands
Okay.
down, yes.
Okay. Oh, hands down. There was no hesitation.
He would probably agree with me.
Okay. Because you're both men of the Cardigan.
We're both in the Cardigan game.
Yes.
Yeah. So I probably inspired him into the game.
Okay. Oh. All right. So you're sort of like Paul when he's writing, like, I have been a father to you. So you like fathered him.
In the Cardigan game, yes.
Okay.
Nice.
I have never done that. I'll tell
agree.
you. I have never.
He might not agree with that, but
he's not here.
We
to
went to
defend
seminary
it, so.
together, and I was wearing them before he was. So.
All right.
And both of you guys.
Good. Well, see.
Also, so who wore? I just went blank. What is it called? Not like
Cassock?
cassock. Yes, thank you. I just
Glasses.
Glasses. No, a cassock. Both of you guys wear cassocks. Who wore that first?
Probably him. I like wearing my cassock because I wear shorts and t-shirt underneath, and it's really comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
He's a pants under the cassock priest. That's the debate in the priest: pants under cassock or shorts under cassock.
Really, it matters.
It's just when it's summertime, it does matter.
Oh, okay.
Sure.
Right
Yeah,
now,
if it's summer, why would you wear pants under the
because
cassock?
it's more formal
And penitential.
and penitential.
Okay, I mean, if that's why you're doing it, I mean, sure, go for it. But like,
I'm not in that.
there's not
game.
like I don't think there should
It's
be
not
a
a game I play.
rule that
Not a
like.
game I play. I'm not about formalities.
Yeah, I mean, that's if you want to do that, do it. But the thing is, you keep it to like no one's gonna know,
Yeah, no one's gonna know.
and if they do, you're not doing it right.
Exactly.
You kind of lose it.
You got to wear the tall black socks. That's
And
the
then
key.
no one knows.
No one knows.
There you go.
Okay.
For the men going into the seminary.
You know, these are the kind of things
They need
that
to
like the average lay Catholic man, he doesn't even think about.
They don't think about this.
No.
No. This is what you get on the Catholic Man Show.
I think cassocks are awesome. That's
I
what
do
I
too.
mean.
I'm a big
like,
fan.
I've
Big
never
fan.
worn one. I just think
Yeah.
like
I have.
You look like
Have
you're
you?
from the
Yes.
Matrix, so it's
yeah,
pretty cool.
totally.
I
would
have-
make that joke all the time for a
Well,
while.
if you
and-
altar served, maybe you wore a
I never
cassock.
did.
Oh, you didn't altar serve. That's sad.
I know. I
was
think so too.
I was an altar boy, and I wore a cassock for Halloween 2 years ago. I was Saint Gerard,
Oh.
and so
Whose cassock did you wear?
Father James Porter,
Nice.
the third.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I know him.
Yes.
I've heard of him before.
I know him too. Yeah.
Yeah. So he was gracious enough in order to let me borrow his cassock.
Did you do any roundhouse kicks? I think that would be the first thing I did.
No, I did like
would
the
be
karate kick, the
roundhouse-
long jumping karate kick. Though.
roundhouse kicks, like Neo. Probably have to get some glasses though, like some sunglasses.
Yeah, for sure.
What are we drinking this evening?
Today we are drinking the Expedition Stout by Bell's Brewing Company in Michigan, out of Comstock, Michigan. This is a Russian Imperial Stout. So it says it's a huge malt body, matched with a blend of complex chocolate, dark fruit, roasted aromas. I don't think you can just say roasted aromas because I think the aroma depends on what you're roasting. I'll just tell you, you can roast some things, it's nice. You can roast other things, it's not nice. The beer is ready to be enjoyed now, or you can age it. It's imperial, so it's got a higher alcohol content. Alcohol is 10.5%.
So go easy.
So I shouldn't drive home after this.
Yeah, I mean,
Just
like
need a little time.
Spend the night.
might have to like hang out for a while.
Okay.
Yeah.
It'll be fun. Yeah.
So that's what we're drinking. How is it?
Nice.
I haven't tried it yet.
It's very good. Oh,
It's
sorry.
quite good.
We're on the Lord's team.
The winning side.
So raise your glass.
Cheers
Cheers.
to Jesus.
Cheers.
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 Yeah, it's a very good stout.
I love stouts.
I do too.
They will make you fat.
That is true.
But
Just,
I love
like
them.
so they will make you so fat. But man, they are good.
Mm-hmm.
If you got to get fat, it's like there are worse ways to do
It's
it.
kind
I
of
think.
the season for getting fat anyway.
Right.
Yes.
You know what?
They
Here
wear
I
a
have put on
tortoise
like
in it.
3 or 4 pounds in the last week or two, and I was just telling my wife like, man, you're supposed to get fat after Thanksgiving. Like,
Yeah,
No, you're
I'm
prepping.
pre-gaming.
I've been
Yeah.
doing some pre-gaming.
Well, and listen.
I don't even know what I've been doing. You know?
Listen, like grace builds on nature.
I'm-
So the more nature you
That's
have,
right.
It's true. More
technically,
grace.
the more grace you
More
have.
grace.
Jim.
Jim's like, you guys are playing my
This is
game
why
now.
he's so holy over there.
Oh.
He's our bodyguard for a reason, people. I'm just going to say that.
Yes. Okay. Hey. So Jim.
We need to do the things that Jim told us to do.
Okay. That's what. Look. Check this out. Here's what we're gonna be. So if you are a patron member of ours, if you're supporting the show, we've been sending out books that we have been receiving. We send out books about once a month to a random patron member. Patreon does not let me post them anymore because you're not technically allowed to do giveaways in Patreon. It's a whole
Legal thing?
legal thing, like because that way it like goes into a lottery basically kind of idea. And anyway, so you're not allowed to do giveaways anymore. But we're still.
You know, this used to be a free country.
I know.
I'm just going to say that.
But we still do it, and here within the next couple of days, we're going to be giving away St. Teresa Noble's new book, on Advent Reflections on her Memento Mori little calendar and book. Yeah, so we're going to be giving that away. It's a really sweet book. It's really good reflections.
She's from Tulsa.
She is from Tulsa, yes. Daughters of St. Paul. So anyway, we're going to be giving that away. So if you support the show, you have a chance to do that. But you also get a chance to receive cool thank you gifts like a Catholic Man Show Glencairn glass, which is a whiskey glass with our logo on it etched with lasers. Or we have beer steins that we give away.
Also laser edged.
Also laser etched.
With lasers.
There's gems.
One of them.
Ecce Steino.
Yes. And so there's a lot of different things.
Yeah.
A lot of different things that we give away by supporting the show. And basically what you see right now, the reason why we have
Also, you get to support the show.
Right. And I know that's why that people don't...
It's like virtue, like...
It's the virtue of magnificence.
It's its own
Potentially
reward.
the virtue of magnificence.
Yeah.
And so I know you guys don't support the show because of the free things, but it's a nice thank you. It's a nice way of saying we appreciate it. And also, like, the reason why we have all these cameras, we're streaming YouTube, we have lighting, and all the different mics and everything else that you see is because people like our patrons have supported us, and a lot of them have been supporting us for 5 years.
Yeah.
And so we're just
Let's
very
drink
grateful.
to those guys.
To those guys.
To those guys who've been supporting us for 5 years. Like,
yes.
Here's to you.
Here's to you guys. So
You're the
anyway,
best.
we appreciate you guys, and if you would, please support the show if you can. And then also, if you want to go to the CatholicManShow.com/store, we have stocking caps, hats, shirts. They make great Christmas gifts. If you get them in very soon, Jim can probably get them over to you before Christmas time. And a lot of it, like the shirt that I have on now, like they're pretty cheap. So anyway, go check us out.
And limited supply.
Yes, because once they're out, they're out.
We're not making any more of those.
Yeah.
Yeah, so if you think like, hey, I really like your shirts, I think you guys have sweet merch, but I hate your show, I'd never support you. Go to the store and you can just buy it there.
And never listen to the show.
Right. Yeah. I mean, like, that's an option for that person out there in the world. We try to be all things to all people here on the Catholic Man Show.
If you're all things to all people, then you're nothing to nobody.
Well, say that to St. Paul. Why don't you tell that to St. Paul? You know what I'm saying?
Oh, we didn't even also say that, Father John, you are associate pastor at Christ the King.
Christ the King, yes.
I don't want to give away what you do, so in case this bombs and everybody doesn't like it and sends Father Elkin a bunch of hate mail. Yeah.
So is it true that that's the second coolest parish in the diocese? Is that what they say?
What's the first?
I think I've heard the St. Benedict's is the coolest.
Maybe. I feel like the cathedral's the coolest because it's the.
You know what? That's true.
That's true.
The cathedral and
after that,
like, you're right.
And plus, your dad is the organist at Church St. Benedict.
That's true.
So, it's cathedral, St. Benedict, and then you guys can fight over the rest.
Yeah.
We're here with Father Jon Fincher from the Diocese of Tulsa in Eastern Oklahoma. We're going to talk about masculinity in this episode. We'll be right back.
Unlike all the other episodes.
Yes, we're really changing it up this week.
Changing it up.
So, Father, you wrote this how I would write it. How I would write it. Mm-hmm. I haven't. I've had like 2 sips. You
wrote it like I wrote it.
Verbatim.
Yeah.
You said like the problem.
Mm-hmm.
And then you set up the solution. How do you want to talk about this? I was thinking, well, you've got 3 parts. We could talk about
the problem,
one part in each segment.
That works. Do you want to do that?
Yeah, unless the chapter 2 is like probably the least
meatiest.
Like, yeah,
probably.
I think. Well, yeah. There's
the
most theology. There's the most theology there.
Yeah.
I really think that the third part. Well. Chapter 4. I'm skipping the introduction as a part.
Yeah. Whatever you want to do.
I think that's the most applicable for our audience. Just about what it means to be a man.
Mm-hmm. But that could be the last segment.
Yeah,
and then we roll into the next.
I just don't want to. I don't want to shortchange that one.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So we make sure this segment we make sure we hit the problem. Next segment we make sure we hit his solution, the theology aspect.
In the third segment, if we shorten this one up a little bit, just because it's got a lot of theology in it, and that's fine. It's good to talk about, but I just want to make sure we get to
whatever you want to do.
Is that okay with you?
I don't care.
You don't even care.
I wrote this and I turned it in and
you said good.
When's the last time you read it?
Today.
Oh, okay.
I did reread it.
Okay.
I haven't looked at it in months.
Right.
Yeah.
Because it's not my priority at this point in time.
Right.
Right.
You did it already.
It is over.
Right. When I had to write a research paper in college. It was nothing like this. It's like 10 to 20 pages, and I realized I should pick a subject and I'm pretty sure my teacher doesn't know anything about. That way, if I don't get it exactly right, she won't know.
That's why I picked a woman moderator. I was like, she won't know anything about masculinity. Just kidding.
And then you're like, she's married.
She's a sister.
No, she's
she's a nun.
She's like
a national.
She's a Dominican. This totally backfired.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I picked nuclear fusion, and I was right. My
didn't know about it.
My English teacher, she didn't know anything about nuclear fusion.
Did you know about it?
No.
Okay.
But enough to write.
Enough to write
pages.
a little bit.
Yeah. I got it done.
That's fair.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let's keep rolling.
Welcome back to the Catholic Man Show. I'm David Niles, here with Adam Minahan. Our special guest is Father Jon Fincher. When Father Jon was getting his licentiate, which is something that doesn't make any sense to Americans, we don't know anything about a license degree or licentiate. It's between a master's and a doctorate. Is that fair to say?
It's kind of the equivalent of a master's.
It's a little bit more than a master's, though, isn't it?
A little bit more.
A little bit, maybe. I could teach at like a university or a seminary in the Catholic Church.
Could you do that with a master's?
Yes.
Okay.
Sort of. But this is like the church's like little stamp on you that says you're not a heretic, sort of.
Right. Not yet.
Not yet.
They're saying
There's
like
potential.
you can teach a class on this specific moral theology.
We didn't teach you any heresy anyway.
Not yet.
That didn't come from us. Okay. So you wrote this paper. Just tell us briefly, what's the premise? What's it about? And then I want to dive right in.
So I wrote it's called a Ticina, a thesis, basically.
Okay.
On basically trying to understand a theology of authentic Christian masculinity. What does that mean? What does that look like? How is it accomplished? So that's kind of what I spent the past year of my life working on.
How did you choose to write on this?
The first time I started writing about it was in 2019 when I was still at a different university in Rome, and it was kind of in the midst of the Me Too movement where I felt like men were getting a lot of bad rap, and I just wanted to see what does the church actually teach on masculinity.
Nice.
Which turns out there's not a lot there.
Really? Yeah.
Not a lot of papal documents, not a lot of magisterium on the dignity of man.
I feel like it was really not written about hardly at all until the theology of the body.
Yes. And then recent popes have really focused on, John Paul, Benedict, and even Francis have focused on the dignity of woman, probably rightfully so, but now we kind of need to understand the other half a little bit better, I think.
Okay, so.
Not that I've helped, maybe I've helped a little bit in some clarity.
Sure.
But this is... We need a pope to write a document like this.
I agree. That would be incredible.
Really cool.
Yeah, it'd be a great way to
get a lot of backlash.
Great way to end the year.
It's okay. The church gets backlash for everything it does.
That's true.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah, and she don't care. Honey Badger don't care.
It doesn't matter.
No.
But we need some more clarity on masculinity. I think in the church.
Be a great way to end the year of St. Joseph.
It really would be.
Throwing that out there.
Yeah, just throwing it out there.
I know Pope Francis listens to the show. We're just giving you some ideas.
Next encyclical, Pope Francis.
In the event you want to throw that out there.
I can connect you with Father Jon. So
yes. You can just copy and paste.
Okay, so in the beginning here, you kind of start off by saying some of the problems.
Yes.
Walk us through some of these things that you highlighted as... obviously, there's a lot of problems with society And when it comes to who, like really the greatest question a man can ask himself is, what does it mean to be a man? The world has a lot of other answers to that question than what the church and what I think God intended. So that naturally we've wound up in a place where we're facing some challenges that we need to overcome.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, so I think there's a lot of there's definitely a lot of problems. I think part of the complication is that like to be a man is both, it's like objective and it's subjective. So it's objective in the sense that like there's standards in a sense, like there's things of like this is what makes up a man, but it's also based on each person's experience of what it means to be a man. So that kind of makes it more complicated because you're working with real human beings,
right?
Who are always messy if you haven't figured that out in this life.
Yeah.
So I think when we look at a lot of the misunderstanding of masculinity in the world today, I really think the root of it, at least at the beginning, comes from a lack of fatherlessness, right? You can look at all of these studies that various people have done, and you look at a lot of the world problems, and some of it goes back to men didn't, or women too, but especially for men, they didn't have these male role models that helped them to understand what it means to be a man in the world today. And so in a sense, they don't really know where to turn, and so they turn to all of these other things that they think are going to fill them up, and then it just causes chaos in the world. So I think that's one of the problems, and with that, it's like I think we're seeing a generation of men that are failing to grow up, right? Like we live in this reality where it's like you can just continue being a teenager until you're 42.
Right, there's no rite of passage. We've talked about this on the show.
There's no
before,
rite
right?
of passage.
It's no longer, you are now a man and you have the responsibilities of manhood.
Yeah, like how do you know?
Right.
Yeah.
You go through that weird phase every man does when he's becoming a man. Like, am I a man now? Like, what is expected of me?
Exactly.
And so I have to tell you, one time, a waitress told Adam that he had Peter Pan syndrome. That is a true story.
Which means what?
We didn't know at the time. We had to
Did you look it up?
We had to figure it out.
It just means like men who don't want to grow up.
Okay.
That was a bold move on her part because he still had
bold.
not left
I had not
a
even
tip,
tipped. Yeah.
and it was not a good tip.
She should have done that after the tip.
Right. She was maybe having a rough day.
Yeah, we're all there sometimes.
Yeah. Anyway,
sure.
Thanks for sharing that.
Funny story.
Thanks for sharing that, Dave. That's how kind of you.
Peter Pan syndrome.
So I think that's one of the problems, and I think we see that right with like, to some extent, not to bash on these things, but like video game culture, it like continues to like 62 now. Like even with like the Marvel movies, like there's this idea of like men wanting to live in that fantasy.
Right.
Pornography, same exact thing. It's like I can just live in this fantasy world where I never have to act for myself or risk anything.
Yeah.
So it just kind of builds onto that.
I agree with that.
But further than that, like I think there's, with the whole kind of gender confusion in our society, it becomes even more confusing as to what it means to be a man and what it means to be a woman, because anybody can be whatever they want to be. So there's no traditional understanding of gender.
But this is a new problem, right? And it's because
it is a new problem.
It's like nobody for into the last like 50 years had any issues with gender issues. Like it just wasn't like a real thing.
Even in the last
but not to the extent that we have
in the last 10 years, or really the last 5 years, even.
Right, and
it's
so I think
exploded.
I think it's as fatherlessness, increases because of maybe contraception, because of the lack of understanding of what marriage is. So fatherlessness happens, and then you get the guys who are no longer the boys who are not growing up, and you get the 32-year-old guy still in mom and dad's basement. This bleeds into a lack of understanding of who am I as God created me to be. Like what am I? Like I'm not being satisfied. I'm not being fulfilled. And so you have this idea of like, well, maybe there's a reason why, and maybe it's because I'm not who I think I am.
Yeah. I'm glad you started off with fatherlessness here in this paper document, in what we're talking about today that you wrote, these words you put together, right?
The words.
Because I mean, that's really, I think, the crux of the matter.
Mhm.
That's
and it kind of leads into everything else that goes astray.
Right.
To some extent.
Because if in a fatherless world, boys don't know how to be men. So you have men who are growing up, who are formed. Men are formed in less than what they should be, and it's men's job to maintain the virtue of a society.
Yes.
The society's virtue, level of virtue, it's collectively it's the men's responsibility because they're the only ones who can enforce it.
Yeah, to some
a
extent.
women just simply don't have the physical power at the end of the day to actually enforce the common good.
Yeah.
And so it's up to men to make sure that we're upholding those things. And because our society has lost virtue, that's how we get into all these perverted, weird places of what we're holding up as good versus other things. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and it's interesting. I mean, the problem is kind of it's a cycle in itself because it's like we have a generation of fathers who were never fathered, and now they're supposed to father their children.
Right.
So it's just kind of this cycle.
But this is why the church.
But they can do it. They can do it.
Yeah, for sure. They can do it. And the church, I think, is there to support them in that.
Yeah, and even just by being present, are you gonna be the best father? No, you're not.
No
Every father is gonna make I make mistakes as a father.
Yeah,
barely.
I mean, I made some today, but that doesn't mean, it's like I'm still doing it. I'm present. I'm dedicated.
Yeah.
Right. So, but this is different though. So when you're when you don't have a role model and you become a father because of being a father, like you just have to step into that role, right?
You have to figure it out.
You have to figure it out.
Right.
Now, that's different though than what the issue is with the crisis within the church, because now you don't have somebody to look up to who said like, this is what a man does till he prays. He goes to mass. And so, but now for whatever reason, we do have this crisis of men not participating in the holy sacrifice of the mass.
Yeah.
Why do you think that is?
Well, I think it's a number of things. I think in a lot of ways we've overly feminized the church. I mean, if you think about even just the people who work in a typical parish office, right? We don't pay enough for a father to be able to work at the church. Number one.
I was going to bring that up. That's part of the problem.
So so we don't actually have male role models in leadership in the parish outside of the priest. And then you think of the catechists; they're all women. You think of like. Nothing. I like the Novus Ordo, but a lot of the new music is very like feminine, and it's just not beautiful. So I think even in the liturgy, there's a lack of like the mystery. Like we've lost a lot of the mystery, which I think draws men in.
This is why men are playing video games or watching Marvel or because it's this mystery of putting yourself in that, and that's what's drawing them in.
Yeah. I also liked how you put in here that the language changed in the liturgy itself, and that it's a softer
language.
Yeah, more it's like, oh, it's not quite so harsh, which that's, as a man, I dig the extreme language kind of, like
me too,
because that speaks to my nature. Yeah, like I'm ready to go to war, or I'm ready to like feast. Like who wants to do anything in the middle?
As men, we like things more direct.
Yeah.
Right.
Anyway.
Okay, so we'll be right back here with Father Jon Fincher. I also liked how you talk about how even in the seminary they've become effeminate even in the seminary.
Yeah.
So if you don't have male figures in leadership roles in the parish, except for the priests, and the priests are being taught in the seminary in an effeminate way, this gets into the problem of, well, no wonder we're having issues with men not being in the church.
Yeah.
It is there's no challenge. There's nothing. You're not attracting the men.
Yeah, because part of it with effeminacy, it just goes back to like, it's not so much about being feminine. It's about like
it's actually not about being feminine at all.
It's like what does St. Thomas Aquinas say?
You desire the pleasure.
You desire pleasure, and you don't want to do the difficult.
You don't want to do the
task.
arduous for the sake of giving up the pleasure.
Yeah. And so when you're not taught that in seminary, then if we're not taught to like fast and do penance, and who's going to do it?
Effeminacy is more akin to sloth than it is to actually
like what we think
like
of it
being
as.
feminine.
Yeah.
It actually has nothing to do with feminine. Right. Well, it's because it's a lot of people think it is the same. Oh, effeminacy means being feminine, but that's not what it means. I used to think that, but
I think I did too.
I corrected him.
So, I think it's like there's been a problem with messaging in the church. I mean, the church is actually terrible at messaging in general, which is sad because she's supposed to evangelize, and bring.
And we have the message that everybody wants.
The message.
It's true.
Right?
The Kira, do you want to get back on the show for this, or are you?
No.
Okay.
But like, men don't interpret the spiritual life as they don't know how awesome it is.
How hard it is as well.
Yeah, and exactly how me,
it's worth fighting for.
When I think about the church, I think about like this is exactly where all the men would want to be. Like what are you doing? Don't you want to do something noble? Don't you want to do something
outside
heroic?
Yourself?
Yeah. Like it has all of the things that men should be attracted to. They just don't know it. That's the problem.
No, that's true. That's true, for sure.
So, anyway. Okay,
we laid out the problem.
Are we going to chapter 2?
So are you going to
attempt
to develop an adequate anthropology in the second
I hope you exhaust
in this third segment here?
12 minutes.
I don't know, we'll see.
With us interrupting as well. We will be interrupting.
Could you sum up the theology of the body in 12 minutes? Like everything that John Paul II said?
It took him a year to do.
It took it more than 129 Wednesday general audiences.
Yeah, it was like years and years.
So that's
took him a while.
2 years.
Yeah.
Over 2
like
years.
2 years.
I mean, he had already written Love and Responsibility.
Wrote.
He wrote.
Yeah.
That is that verb is hard for me today, isn't it? It's the second time I've messed up that word.
I'm excited for you to exhaust this topic in 12 minutes.
Especially with me like jumping in. Yeah.
We'll see.
I'm gonna be honest, Father. I'm not gonna make it easy on you.
Welcome back to the Catholic Man Show. Here with Father Jon Fincher, we're talking about authentic Christian masculinity, really deviating from our usual topics. Really going out on a limb.
Really going on a limb today.
Yes. Hey, we just shout out to everybody in Allentown, Pennsylvania. We went up there for a men's conference, the 10th annual men's conference in Allentown, Pennsylvania. Thank you to Rick Dooley and all of his team for inviting us out. It was a great conference. We really enjoyed it. And we also are going to a Catholic comedy festival January 8th in Phoenix-ish, in Arizona. May not be in Phoenix. Maybe Mesa. I'm not positive.
Mesa. If you say Mesa, like
that's the joke.
They know you're not from around there.
Just like Miami and Miami.
You can make that joke in Mesa. I don't think they'll laugh.
Yeah, that's probably true. Yeah. Anyway, we're going there in January 8th. St. Philip Neri Catholic Comedy Festival. Should be fun.
I'm so excited to see. Like,
it's kind of random.
What
that
is
they
a Catholic?
invited you, though.
That's what I've been saying to Adam. It's
wait,
like,
are you saying that we're not funny?
I'm not saying you're not funny, but you're definitely not comedians.
I mean, like, I get why I'm going. Okay.
Well,
I'm Ecce Homo. You see what I'm saying?
I see what you're saying.
Yeah. See, this is the joke I used to make all the time. But I keep telling Adam, like, I'm not sure what you're gonna do, bro.
I'm just the hype man. I'm the hype man.
There.
I'm the hype man.
So
I'm the one that used to tell jokes on the show.
That's true. You used to tell like formal jokes, and they were hilarious.
People really wanted to keep hearing them, but I went into retirement only to be able to be brought back out of retirement. That's why you do it.
You're like Jay-Z. Is that what it is?
Yeah. The Catholic Jay-Z.
Father, he was this rapper back from like a long time ago. Anyway.
All right. So we set the problem up. We talked about fatherlessness. We talked about boys not growing up and being men. We talked about gender confusion and the crisis of men in the church. So now Father is
and there's a lot more we could have said about that.
Right,
but I I think in general people get it. They get the problems. Yeah.
We see the problem.
So now Father is
Right.
going to sum up the solution in the next 10 minutes and exhaust the topic.
Yeah.
It's not the solution yet. This is just like
This is like the what is Christian
this is
masculinity.
I'm sorry. I jumped ahead.
Yeah, I think this is the base. This is the
the
foundation for the solution.
Exactly.
Which is what it's all about.
I've heard that.
Exactly.
So, no trouble.
So, I mean, if we were going to sum it up in one word, it would just be Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Just be like
That's actually
him.
2 words.
Oh, 2 words. Jesus Christ. I didn't go to school for math, so. But yeah, like if you were
Did you
going
know
to
Father Sean? He has a degree in math.
He does. He told me this recently. and I
Isn't
was
that
like,
crazy?
Could never.
I'm
have
like,
imagined
man, if he ever gets moved back to Tulsa, I'm going to have him, all right, Monday is math day. You're homeschooling my kids.
that. Yeah, he has the degree to do it.
Yeah. Anyway.
So yeah, that would be the 2-word answer, like become like Jesus Christ and you will be the perfect man. And then we can unpack that, right? So I think we have to look first at the book of Genesis, this idea that man, right, this applies to women too, but man and woman are created in the image of God from the beginning, so that we're something higher than the rest of all of creation. Being created in the image and likeness of God. So we're this high point because we're like God. We have an intellect, like we're rational. So that in the first sense, like we're different than the rest of creation. So that's just going back to the beginning of Genesis. And then with that, it's like we are able to reflect, unlike the other animals. We have self-knowledge and we have self-reflection.
Mm-hmm.
So you see that even when like Eve is created, Adam's able to like understand that he's different than Eve, but he's more similar to Eve than he is to the animals, which he's just named. So that's kind of the first thing. Like we're created in the image and likeness of God, and that sets us apart from the rest of creation. And then secondly, when you look at also Genesis 1, like you notice that God goes through the 7 days of creation, and he says that each of the, like at the end of the day, he says, and it was good.
Mm-hmm.
But on the day he created man and woman, right, he says that it was very good, right? So there's this inherent goodness in man that can actually never be lost.
Mm-hmm.
So that's something I think that's something huge because, I mean, I talk to people all the time and they don't recognize that inherent goodness in themselves, which is in a sense, like it can't be removed despite our sin.
Which is a failure to understand who they are.
Yes. Yeah. So we have to understand that we're broken and we need salvation, right? We need a savior, but we're fundamentally good.
I can just hear Scott Hahn talking about sonship right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's a sense of that when you look at Genesis that's kind of essential to understanding who we are as human beings and who we are as especially men. And then kind of moving forward to Jesus Christ, right? We talk about Jesus Christ as the new Adam. So we have obviously the first Adam who kind of screws everything up. And then you have this second Adam who really comes and...
Which one are you, Adam?
We don't know which one you are. You're somewhere in between.
I feel like you're in between.
So, right, the first Adam is expelled from paradise, but the new Adam brings paradise to us, right?
Yeah.
The gates of heaven are opened. So it's really this great gift that we see that Christ, the new Adam, is bringing us the grace really then to live as men, to show us what does it mean, right? The first Adam tried his best. He didn't do that great.
But he's still a saint. Good. He's still a saint in the church.
First one in heaven.
True.
Yeah. So, like, you know, if you're saying that I'm in the middle of between Jesus and a saint, I'm in.
Well, you have to specify at what point in the arc of sainthood are we referring?
The highest.
That you're between.
Peak.
I mean, because it's like, are you between Jesus and Adam when he was like eating the apple? You know, because he developed over time the thing about Adam. There was a time where he was not so great.
There was a time where he was very, very good.
And other times he was very, very good, yeah. And then after that, I feel like, you know, he learned a lot. There was a day he learned a lot that day.
I'm sure he did. I would hope.
I have thought about that, like for Adam having been in the garden and then having children and then like raising them and realizing that the world that you're giving them
is worse.
Totally sucks.
Than when
you know, by comparison, and just the guilt that he must have borne having known
that's
the
probably
garden.
True. That is probably true.
Also, fig leaves would be very itchy.
Well, they only wore those for like a while. Then God killed the animals to make clothes for them. God was also the first tailor. It's in the story.
Yeah.
He said he made suitable clothes, is what it says for Adam and Eve.
That's true.
But one of my favorite Theology of the Body quotes, which is exactly about what we're talking about, is that Christ fully reveals man to himself and makes his supreme calling clear. Like, that's right. That's like, it's all about.
I agree with that statement.
Yeah, and it's because when Christ takes on humanity, right, God became man. So all of our humanness is then recreated. So even our masculine traits somehow become new in Jesus Christ. So it's kind of like, how can I become more like him because he is now this new Adam who perfects man because he's God. But I'm also human, and so I can become more divine. Yeah, that's what St. Athanasius talks about, right? That he says the Son of Man became man so that we might become God, right? You've probably heard that quote before. But it's like through this adoptive sonship that our, not just like our souls become recreated, but all of who we are, which I think we don't think about that much. Like that, I think our humanness, I was talking about this today to somebody, our humanness I think is often overlooked, but our humanness is so important, right? It's we're going to become more ourselves, but we're going to become more like Christ. So it's like this coming together of,
by becoming more yourself, you become more like Christ.
And it seems weird, but because you're like, am I just becoming like him, or am I really me?
Right. You think, oh, I'm trying to make him more like me, and that's not the right way. But no, that's actually not the way it goes. One of the points that you make in here, which I really love, is as we're, upholding Christ as the model, I had never really stopped to ponder Christ's fatherhood.
Yeah.
Because there's God the Father, and then there's God the Son. Obviously, Jesus isn't the Father. Perfect distinction, perfect unity, but like, obviously
no material heresy.
He did have a fatherhood.
Yeah.
On earth, and I had never even considered that.
Yeah, because all men have, it's within all men that we are somehow supposed to be fathers.
And if we're embracing our fatherhood apart from Christ's fatherhood, then it's not going to be right.
Yeah.
And so that's just,
and if you think about it, Christ is just living out the will of the Father.
Yeah.
So he's connected directly to God the Father, obviously.
Sure. But you put in here, you said, if men wish to become like God, then fatherhood must be deeply understood so that the heart can be stirred into decisive action. I just think, you have to imitate Christ in all things, in all ways. I need to have a fatherhood like his, one that's life-giving, that's generative. And obviously, you can't be a good father until you're a good spouse.
Yeah, it's all connected.
Yeah,
that's the hard
this whole
thing
topic,
about
right, about fatherhood and
Christian life. Everything's connected in
right.
Christian life, which makes it easier and also more difficult.
Because
sometimes.
You can't be a good spouse unless you can't give what you don't have.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't have a good prayer life, if you're not striving for virtue, then you can't be a good spouse, which means you can't be a good father. Yeah. Which means you can't help with the community.
It's the undoing of the original sin. Satan didn't tempt Eve and Adam by saying, oh, God doesn't exist. They knew he existed. What he did was he said, like, oh, are you sure you can trust him? Are you sure that God the Father is going to continue to take care of you?
Yeah, so Satan's trying to destroy fatherhood
He was destroying fatherhood from the beginning. Right, yes. Exactly.
Okay, so when we get back, we're going to talk about the solution, or some solutions, some pragmatic applications.
Solve
all the solutions.
All of them.
All of
Every
them.
single one of them in the next 12 minutes. We'll be right back.
Exhaust them. I think I would need...
Your glasses?
They're getting fogged up.
They're getting fogged up? Is that what it is?
Yeah.
It's just the left... It's the left one.
Is it the humidity in here?
I don't know. Warm. It's a bit warm.
I got the AC going.
It's okay. I'll just take off my cardigan.
Yeah, take your cardigan off. Yeah.
For the people at home. This is what a clerical shirt looks like. Cardigan. All the live stream people.
You know what I'm not a fan of? And I might offend some people here. I'm not a fan of the short sleeve cleric.
I'm with you on that. I think it looks
just
bad.
looks silly.
It
I
looks
think.
silly.
You know what else looks silly? Short-sleeved
one.
collared shirts at all. Like if you have a tie,
I don't agree with
if
that.
you have a tie, now I don't mean like a button-up. I have some short-sleeve button-up
I think
shirts.
short-sleeve button-ups look nice.
Yeah, what I mean is like the dress shirt, if you a shirt
The
you'd wear with a
Oxford-
tie.
The Oxford shirt.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, why would you wear a tie with a short-sleeve shirt?
Well,
do people do that?
Yes.
Yes, some people do that.
I'm not.
And
very
to
aware.
me,
Have you seen The Office?
Dwight
Dwight Schrute, right?
Dwight Schrute.
So like you guys are wearing a collar, so it's kind of like you have a tie on, and so I don't know with the short sleeves.
What about the gray? Are you pro?
Gray is like in our diocese. It's kind of like
it's
deacons can wear gray.
It's so rare.
priests
I don't
probably
really.
shouldn't.
Right.
I mean,
I don't really have a
confused,
preference.
But they can also wear black with the weird collar.
The dog collar.
Yeah, this is kind of like a dog collar with a notch in it.
Yeah.
But theirs is like a dog collar without a notch.
Yeah.
In it.
Right.
So I don't know what that is because I've never seen that anywhere but our diocese.
Oh really?
Have you seen it elsewhere?
I have in some old pictures of
I mean,
priests.
Like, it's cool.
There was just.
Fine.
I don't know.
I'm trying to remember who the saint is that I've seen wearing that collar.
Was he a deacon or a priest?
No, he was a priest.
Oh.
What did you say? One?
The Anglicans use it.
The Anglicans do. You can wear like the full collar
rid of
without
it.
this.
The old school Anglicans.
Just wear this.
Uh-huh.
Just the white collar.
I mean, some of the Anglicans are more.
Yes. Oh, I've seen that too in old school pictures.
Unfortunately, some of the Anglicans are more Catholic than the Catholics.
But part of
Not
that
around here.
Well, part of that is because they would wear this under their cassock, and so you wouldn't wear this
Right.
outer part. You would just wear this, and then you took off your cassock when you left your. Like if you went off your parish property, you wouldn't wear your cassock normally.
And yeah, it goes also back to it was more common for all men. The collars were detachable.
Yeah.
So
They still are.
Well, yeah, I mean nobody wears detachable collars. So for men's shirts back in the day,
all of men's shirts.
all
This collar's
men
detachable.
because shirts. This is like back like in the
Yeah,
1700s where like
to wash it.
buying a shirt was, you know you didn't have 25 T-shirts or whatever, and so you would have all these collars that you could take off and wash, and just put a new collar on the shirt because that was like that got the sweat stains and stuff, and so that's what kind of those just the white collar. It stems from the old detachable collars that just men used to wear in general.
We know.
Yeah.
Blue collar, white collar. What is blue collar?
Blue collar is people who don't wear a white shirt. They wear a blue shirt.
Which is
because it could get dirtier. So
like a machinist, even today, like they still wear most of the time blue shirts.
Yeah, it's like people in like more labor intensive jobs.
Yeah.
Real men.
Who would have thought?
Yeah, real men.
The real men.
Working
who,
with
like,
their hands.
Go home and actually feel good about what they did instead of sitting in front of a computer like I do, wondering what the world is all about.
That's perfect timing, Juan. You're getting so good
Twice,
at this.
yeah, twice. Welcome back to the Catholic Man Show. I'm David Niles. Here with Adam Minahan and Jon Fincher. Father Jon Fincher. Oh my gosh. Padre, I apologize. You are totally a priest. Priest of God. Priest of Jesus Christ. We're drinking Expedition Stout by Bell's Brewing Company in Michigan. It's fantastic. It's really good. I will tell you, it was $15 for the 6-pack. I'm not sure that
Not
it's
bad.
like I think that there are maybe other stouts I'd go maybe like for the $10
Solera
range.
You'll go $15 for like a 24-ounce can.
I just like
you get 6-pack for $15.
That's just not my jam. That's not my jam. Like,
but it's pretty good.
But it's
very good. Oh, like if someone wants to give me one of those American Soleras, I will love it.
Listen.
I'm not gonna buy it myself, but just because, look, I got 4 kids. All right.
Yeah.
You know,
that's a lot of money.
My money has other priorities. When I can go and buy, like, some other good stouts at a more reasonable, like.
It's a very good stout.
Yeah.
So we're talking.
It is very good.
So we're talking about masculinity. We're gonna get kind of a little bit more pragmatic.
A little more pragmatic.
Okay.
In this segment.
Okay. So we're talking about the role of a man, like what his distinctions are. Maybe we start small and then work our way out.
Yeah, that's kind of how it has to work. So I think if we look at least the past 3 popes, they keep talking. Pope Francis talks more about missionary discipleship, but the term before was like new evangelization. So the idea is like if we're to implement this new evangelization where we actually follow Matthew 28, right? Go therefore and make disciples of all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father and the Son and the Holy Spirit. We have to somehow equip men, right? And I think men more so than women. I think for women it's probably easier to be contemplative, right? Whereas for men, there's like
no doubt
this drive to go out. Yet men are somehow unequipped to do that. So the question then is, how do men do that starting in their own family? How do they do it in their own parishes, and then eventually greater society?
Right.
So I think that's the question, because it's kind of like you said, you have to start small.
It's like Mother Teresa said, if you want to change the world, go home and love your family.
Exactly.
If everybody just does that, in one generation, the world will change.
The world would change.
I mean, it would be night and day.
Everybody's loving their family.
Right.
So I think, the Catechism of the Catholic Church talks about anyway the family as the original like cell of society or of social life. So I think it has to start there anyway. And the popes have talked about, I think it was Paul VI talked about how like the family is this place of evangelization anyway, where like you as fathers especially are leading your family in the faith and hopefully evangelizing your children with the gospel.
Yeah.
But your kids are also evangelizing you, right? So there's this like interplay within the family of
teaching you how to love.
Yeah.
Because sometimes kids are hard to love
live
sometimes.
The gospel.
Yeah.
Because your kids probably inspire you in the faith sometimes, so it's like this. Hopefully you're inspiring them more so, but you're still going to grow from there. So I think within the family we have to understand that one of the primary things of the role of the father is that of the protector. So he is the one, right? Not just right to protect the family from like outside danger and also inside danger. He's protecting even in the sense of providing. Like that's the sense of protecting. You're protecting your family from poverty.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what you're proclaiming the gospel, you're protecting, and you're also forming, right? You're teaching your children hopefully morals and how to live the Christian life.
Let me just give an example of this. One of my children has recently reached the age where she has learned when I like ask a question, she knows, and I kind of know like you might be in trouble. She's learned I can lie and maybe get out of trouble. Usually, well, so far she's terrible at it. So I always know that she's lying. But it's one of the things that I pray about every day. You know, like I spend time in prayer every morning asking God to like not let that seed of of deception, of lying grow. You know, like to give me the ability as her father to stamp it out. Even if that means I have to punish her, you know, even if, but I don't want to, you know, overly punish, you know, exactly, because I don't want her to be afraid of punishment and therefore more tempted to lie. Right. But anyway, it's like, that's something as a father I take seriously, that I have to make sure to defend my family against that growing in my house, because it's my house. You know what I mean?
Sure. And I think with that, like even in the way you discipline, the way you live your life as a man in your family, one of the things you're doing outside of protecting is just like creating this idea for your kids of what is a father and what does it mean to be a man, right? Especially for sons, but even for daughters, right? Because you're somehow modeling masculinity and fatherhood for them, which will then create this idea of what that means, right? For others, like if they look at it, if your daughter sees a potential spouse when she gets older, like hopefully she'll be like, my dad was like this, and so I'm looking for something like that.
And hopefully you get to give them a glimpse of what the Heavenly Father, his love,
because it all goes back to God the Father.
So what do you think is one of the things, I mean, you have the benefit or the cross, however you want to look at it, of hearing confessions. So what do you think is, if you've ever listened to Dave's confession, what specifically did he say in confession?
I cannot say.
I don't know if you know this, but
I'm just
so canon law.
So what do you think that men struggle with?
See, this is why I'm worried about the whole Catholic comedy conference. Like,
things are gonna come out.
That joke just didn't land. You know, it's failure to launch, I think.
Yeah.
But it's all right now.
Well, you have a few months to prepare.
I still have a little bit of
You
time.
have some time.
Yeah.
No, that's a good question. I think
Not till
a lot
January
of it,
8th. You got a lot of time.
A lot of time.
I
I'll
think
work
a
on
lot
it.
of
Worry about it January 6th.
I think a lot of it for men, I think we were talking about this earlier, but it might have been during the commercial. The lack of the effeminacy.
Effeminacy,
thing.
yeah. If you
Where,
say
like,
it fast enough, it sounds
men
right.
don't know how to avoid pleasure, right?
Mhm.
Whether that comes to drinking, right? The two big things, drinking and sex.
Right. It's appetites. Men are creatures of appetite.
Yeah,
right.
so that's a big thing, right? The sins around the flesh,
Mhm.
whether it's food or drink, those would be the two big things. Or just laziness, I think.
Yeah.
So a lot of it goes back to men not knowing how to like give up those pleasures and live for something greater.
Mm-hmm. I agree. I agree. That's
Yeah, I think so too.
that's my struggle. Definitely. I struggle with my appetite and mastering it the way in hindsight, at the end of the day, during my examination of conscience, I say, you know what? I probably didn't need to eat 8 cookies.
Yeah.
Back to back.
Exactly.
Maybe if I'd always spread them out over the day, I wouldn't feel so bad about it.
Exactly.
I binged on those chocolate chip cookies today, almost like I couldn't help myself.
Yeah.
And it's like that's a fairly that's a fairly docile thing, actually. But like that's I think what men.
Yeah, I think that's a big.
That's what it is. It's whether it's sex or food or just rest. Or we have to learn to embrace the arduous because that's where salvation is. Like there's so many beautiful prayers to Saint Joseph that talk about working out your salvation in the daily.
Well, even
the
today,
daily
like
work.
it's talked about in the gospel, like those who will be saved will be those who persevere till the end, or endure till the end, whatever translation you're looking at. So it's kind of that. How do we endure? It's by living in the day, which is normally the daily grind, and there's some sort of penance that has to come out of that because life just is that. So maybe now we could shift to like man's role in the parish, right?
Please,
because,
yeah, let's do it.
I think we're seeing, right, if you look at statistics, men are just fleeing from the church. I think church is it's just seen as a feminine thing that women do that men somehow don't need to do, but we also see that when fathers are leading their family in the faith, then the kids are more likely to follow. So in a lot of ways, we already talked about this a little bit, but it's like the parish is not set up in a lot of ways for men, right? Even the way we do catechesis, it's like, let's sit you in a desk for 2 hours and hope a little 6-year-old boy cares about the church later on.
Right.
So there's kind of no sense of mission or adventure, which is the Christian life. But we don't know, I think a lot of times in chanceries and parishes, like everything becomes overly political and overly bureaucratic, so we lose the sense of mission.
Yeah, it's all about what's the next program.
Yeah, what's the next program? We have to jump through 7 hoops to do anything, and that just kind of kills a lot of the masculine drive to adventure.
Yeah.
So I don't know exactly how that has to change in the parish, but I think that is one of the things, that men are driven to adventure, which is connected very closely to mission.
I think the men in the parish need to stop expecting the priest
to do everything,
to be the one who's coming up with the ideas.
For sure.
The men in the parish need to lead the parish.
Yes, for sure.
Because I don't have to listen to the chancery.
No, I do.
Both of you guys do. I mean, Adam works there, he probably has to listen to him more than you do, Father. But I mean, what are they going to do? Fire you? But
they could fire you, but they wouldn't.
They could fire me, definitely.
They really wouldn't fire
But we need men who are willing to stand up. It's like, hey, I think this is what we need in our parish, because like this is just, I think it works for us.
Exactly. So we need those leaders. We talked about that earlier too. Like, there's not a lot of male leadership within the parish communities typically. So we do need that to be stepped up, so that men can help other men become disciples of Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
And that's really the key, right? We're supposed to be helping other men become disciples of Jesus Christ. And then I think connected to that, there's a lot of times a lack of brotherhood. I mean, we don't have community. We don't have brotherhood.
That is a huge one. That's huge.
And if we look at the saints formed other saints, and we don't have that a lot of times in our parishes.
I agree.
So we ran out of time on the radio. If you're listening to this right now on one of the 20-plus stations, radio stations, go over to thecatholicmanshow.com. You can listen to the full episode or watch us on YouTube.
We're going to wrap this up on the other side of the break, or after the music stops.
We're on the Lord's team.
The winning side.
So raise your glass.
But yeah, brotherhood, I mean, so Adam and I, like, we travel some. We don't travel a whole lot, but that's one thing that we hear all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because he and I have been friends for a long time. And
for a minute.
Like since we were in kindergarten. So every time we go somewhere, people will come up and be like, wow, that's so amazing.
You don't even know what
we
kind
didn't
of
even know
blessing
that it was
is.
unusual to have been friends with someone for that long until people started coming up to us and telling us.
Yeah. Well, it's true. And then I think what's unique about both of you is that you're both into your faith, which I think that would be even rarer.
Well, honestly, we wouldn't be as good of friends.
No.
Right.
Because you wouldn't have anything really connecting you.
Right, exactly. Because the things that are at our friendship, and the same's true with Juan, are the realest things in the universe.
Yeah, for sure.
It's not fake. It's real, and all of us know and do call each other out on things.
Yeah.
And it's not always pleasant.
I've been meaning to talk to you about something.
Right.
Well, I mean, and then that's why you see all these saints connected, like St. Dominic, St. Francis. They formed bands of brothers. Like St. Benedict did the same exact thing. The Jesuits. You got St. Francis Xavier, St. Ignatius of Loyola. Just this great list of saints that were all living together as friends. J.R.R. Tolkien and C.S. Lewis were friends.
Right.
So, like, masculine saints build other masculine saints, in a sense.
Father, I want to ask you a question. Here's something that Dave and I have talked about before, but I'd like to get your opinion. One of the problems.
I know what you're
going
to say, and I'm glad you're going to. Oh, maybe not. Never mind. Sorry.
Okay. One of the problems of when a parish grows is that obviously when more people come in, the more money that comes into the parish, the less they need to rely on volunteers, the less they need to rely on a men's group to mow the grass or to cut the shrubs or to make sure that the plumbing is fixed. They don't have to do it because they can outsource this now.
It's all
outsourced.
Right.
One of the problems of a big parish is actually a benefit, but also a cross, right? Because you now have more money to do more things, but then you have more money to where you don't need people as much.
Yes.
So then you get these startup parishes that have a thriving men's group at the very beginning. Then the next generation, because they had to lay the sod.
The men in that parish knew that they were needed.
And they formed a brotherhood because of this call to action, because of this need within the parish.
We have to build the benches. We have to paint. We have to do
we're setting
the manual labor is up
parish.
to us because we're a new poor parish, right?
Exactly.
But now it is becoming thriving. There's 1,800 families, 3,000 families, whatever it is. We don't need that anymore. So now there's no there's a lack of call to action.
And that beginning situation is what you want because it gives the men identity with the parish. You go to some of these old parishes. It's like my grandfather built this, literally built it with the other men at the time. It's like, you think those men are going to leave the church? You got to be kidding me. They built the church.
Yeah.
They're not leaving this church, even if they don't believe what it teaches, which they're
still there.
It's well, why'd they build it if they didn't believe it? But they're not going anywhere, and if they don't believe it, at least they're going to stick around and maybe they'll get evangelized, So we need that identity. But I mean, that's something that we've seen too, where they lose that.
I think in the modern parish, I am a big proponent that a lot of that could be happening in small groups, right? So we just have to break down the parish into smaller groups where then men and women are in small groups of communities where they're forming each other, right? Because even I as the priest can't get to every man and every woman to be like, hey, you're really bad at this and you should probably learn how to pray and love Jesus.
Yeah.
But if everybody had a little small group that was calling each other on, to help each other do this
Mm-hmm.
and help each other live the gospel and go out and evangelize and make more disciples, I think a lot of our problems would still exist, obviously,
Yeah,
but
sure, they're not all going to go away. I mean,
but we would probably be a little more stronger and have
if all your problems go away, what are you going
more
to do?
disciples.
Yeah, but do you do
Yeah,
you
I
agree that there's no like if men are not like men are men of action, right? So if there is no call to action, if there's no need for men in the parish, then they don't take this.
Yeah.
They're not able to put their own DNA, their thumbprint into the parish.
Yeah.
And so then they don't feel needed. And so then they go find other things where they do feel needed, which a lot of those things are not, holy or good or,
Right, like the Shriners or,
right,
something.
Like, and there's a reason why those people, those groups are thriving.
Mm-hmm.
So unfortunately, I think this is a situation where part of it, responsibility falls on the priest to not allow your parish. There's been a shift in attitude, and this is not just in the church; it's across America, where it used to be understood by men specifically that I serve the parish.
Yes.
And now I think most men think that the parish serves me. Yeah. Like I come here, they provide me a service. Yeah. Like they're the ones who they're like servicing me, Jesus. Mm-hmm. And that's like
it's a consumerist.
It's a consumerist attitude.
Ask not what your parish can do for you.
Right, exactly.
But for wait.
And so
I just made that up just off the top of my head.
And part of that is like, oh well, the grass gets paid. We have someone cut the grass. Mm-hmm. We have someone do we have professional landscapers. So it's like, it's like I'm at a country club. I come here, I tithe, and like everything's nice for me. Exactly. There's donuts afterwards. It's like, no, it needs to
I love
be.
That you added there's donuts afterwards. Like that's what grown men are thinking about.
You think the grown men exactly like. You think the grown men don't get excited about the donuts? You're kidding yourself, bro. All right.
At least David gets
like they have the decency to wait till the end, and like settle for a cake donut. I mean, I got personally nothing against a cake donut, but it's a mentality that needs to be erased because we should be the ones serving the parish.
Yeah.
Not the other way. So like I think,
and even
the priests should no. We don't pay for anything.
Our understanding of worship, right? I don't go to mass to receive anything.
Right.
In a sense, I'm there to worship God.
Right. Exactly. No, I'm here to
true leisure.
It's like, you're helping me. You're stamping my pass book, or I'm here satisfying my obligation. Thank you for
checking the boxes,
helping me satisfy that. Because I don't go to hell.
Exactly.
The parish, I think it might be good if they just stop paying for anything. Nope. Sorry. We're not the money you donate. It's not to have the grass cut.
Yeah.
It's to do stuff for Jesus. And you know what? Jesus doesn't need us to cut the grass. You can do it. That. I think it would be better.
You should come cut our grass.
You know what? You don't have very much grass, so
don't have a lot of
I'm just thinking about it. Do you even have any grass?
We have that field across the street.
Oh, look at the playground.
Yeah.
Okay.
You could come cut that grass.
Well, I would.
We're not parishioners
if I
there, or I would.
If I was gonna say if I was already cutting St. Benedict's grass and my own grass, and I still had time to cut grass,
you would cut.
I'd come cut your grass. You know what? I actually like cutting grass.
I do too.
It's very satisfying when you look at a freshly cut grass.
I don't even have to cut.
It
my
looks
grass,
good.
So
yeah.
I know someone cuts my grass.
You know what?
Yeah.
I know this is like one of those things the priest should do everything. But there's if people were driving by and saw the priest mowing the grass in a collar, people would be like, wow,
that's pretty cool.
Check that guy out.
John Grant cuts his own grass.
Right. Exactly.
Cool.
You know what? I respect that. I respect that.
Good for him.
The other day.
How do you think, hold on.
Okay, sorry.
I just want how do you think as a priest, how do you think we can bring back that call to action in men in parish? Because I think that is one way that we're going to be able to bring men back in.
One of the things goes back. I mean, it's just you have to feel connected to a parish in the first place. And so, in the past, you were pretty much assigned a parish, right? You just lived in that boundary. And so you lived around all those people.
And it technically may or may not still be that way.
It's still kind of that way, but it's not enforced. So
right.
With that in mind, people kind of go where they want, when they want. And then this priest comes, so they don't like him. So I think it goes. We have to go back to this understanding of like I join a parish, that's where I am.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if I like the priest. I'm there to worship God, to be part of this community.
This is the community demo. Yeah.
A sense of stability.
Yeah, because it does give us a stability.
I agree.
So I don't know how to bring that back exactly, but at least conveying that whole image and picture.
The problem is it's a hard sell for a lot of men to say like, hey, you need to go from, like, you need to give up watching football, on Saturdays, college football, and you need to like invest that time in doing something for the church every Saturday. You know what I mean? Like,
tough sell.
It's a pretty tough sell to get men involved sometimes. So there's a priest in our diocese that told Adam this, and which priest it was doesn't matter. But when Adam told me what he said, and when he said it to me, which at this point is hearsay, but I trust Adam. Okay, I don't think he's a liar. It really resonated with me, and I think it's true. I think he's right. But he said the church should almost abandon the women. Just almost totally forget about them and solely focus on evangelizing men, because if the men come, they will bring the women with them.
I'm not completely opposed to that. I do focus more on the men in my priesthood. I intentionally do that.
Yeah.
Not to hate on the women, but
first of all, the women don't need it as much as the men do.
The women are already there.
Right, they're already there. But I mean, if a man is Catholic, he's going to bring his wife.
They're going to all come.
If the wife is Catholic, the man is not necessarily coming.
Yeah.
Exactly.
We see that all the time.
I know, like some people are going to be like, "That's not true. I know a couple," and it's like, yeah, I know. There's obviously exceptions.
Jim was an exception.
There's exceptions to everything, right? Like, yeah, sure, I know that couple. The guy comes with his kids and his wife doesn't come. Like, yeah, okay, I know, but like, lay off. In general,
I think you're right.
Yeah.
We very much need to focus on the men.
I do too. Like, that's where we need our efforts to be, and we need the church to be a manly place.
So it needs to be beautiful.
Where we let the women come too.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
It needs to be beautiful, a place we want to be.
Right.
Good liturgy, good things for men. We try to do that at Christ.
Totally agree. So the last thing in your paper was, like men in the parish, and then you have men in society. I feel like really those two things probably share a lot in common.
Connected.
Yeah.
But I think there's just, with that, it's like, how do you then go out and just really just evangelize the people that are already in your life? Because that's how you change society. We've talked about that a little bit. It's not by going out and like standing on the corner. It's just by
you have to not be weird about it.
Yeah, it's just by sharing the message of the gospel with your friends, right?
Yeah.
Because in a sense, Jesus, he gave us this task to evangelize, and there was no backup plan.
Yeah.
Right? There's no backup plan. So if the 12 apostles didn't go out and proclaim the message of the gospel, the whole thing would have fallen apart. And so it's the same today. If we're not going out and talking to those people that we work with, and it's really just like telling them, what has Jesus Christ done in my life? Why does he make a difference? It's not, I think we're afraid of that, but it's not that hard.
Right.
I mean, there's a guy who messaged us on social media not too long ago, and he and his he had some friends over, and they were like, "So, are you super Catholic? Like, are you like a super Catholic family?" And he had this hesitation of thinking like, "Oh, I don't want to be labeled as a super Catholic," And so
I do.
Right. I mean,
yeah, I am.
Yeah. Like, yes,
but he had this inner struggle of like, I don't want to be labeled as an outcast or like or weird.
Well, no, I'm not, but I'm working on it.
Right. And so he messaged us and was like, "So what do you think we should do?" And I said, like, you should be super Catholic and not be ashamed of it.
Right.
And he said, "I thought that's what you would say."
Dang it.
You're right.
I was afraid to do that.
This like hesitancy of being super Catholic.
Like you're gonna be weird, or like you're gonna be labeled as weird.
Labeled as weird.
It's like, well, first of all,
we did a whole episode of how to evangelize without being weird.
Yeah, like first of all, don't be weird about it.
Don't be weird.
Okay, like
stop being weird.
Like pick like all right, 5 saints is enough. You don't need to be wearing any more than 5 medals on one chain.
That's fair.
Okay,
that's fair.
if you can't narrow it down to 5, like then you like need to go to get a spiritual director or something who can
scapular weighs 22 pounds.
who can like tell you which one to get rid of. Okay.
How many do you have, Jim?
I got 3.
Okay.
See, that's
All
only
right.
3.
He's
That's
within the
less than
limit,
5.
folks.
That's totally fine. But you can hear those people who have like 25 walking down the hallway, and it's like, why do you jingle so much? And then you see their necklace, and you're like, okay.
That's too many
Look,
saints.
this is not like a charm bracelet. That's not how it works. Okay, but anyway, you have to like be regular, be cool, like
To be normal.
be just a normal
And
person.
just tell people what
Like
Jesus
I
Christ
think
is
Jesus
doing in
was
your
pretty
life.
normal. I mean, like
Except for the
in a
whole
lot of
divine
ways.
thing.
In a lot
That
of
whole
ways.
divine thing was.
In a lot of ways, he was normal.
Yeah, so I think it just goes. It's simple. You got to be normal. You got to tell them what Jesus Christ is doing in your life, and then you want to invite them into that same relationship that you have. Like it's really normal, but it sounds really weird. Like give them the basic message of the gospel and invite them if they want to accept it or not. And if they don't want to, it's fine.
I think
Keep
a
being
lot
their
of
friend.
people struggle to answer that question because they don't really know. Like they might be faithful Catholics, and they might take their faith seriously, but they honestly don't know what Jesus Christ personally means in their life.
No clue.
You know, I mean, I think it's a real thing, and that's something you have to have an answer for. You have to be able to say that, like, you know what, he does. This is what he means to me. Like this, I couldn't imagine my life in any other way. And so, like, if that's you, maybe go on a retreat. You know, like look for
go to Clear Creek.
Go to Clear Creek if there's Curcio in your diocese or Acts or like whatever it is. Maybe it's because maybe you haven't been like giving him space. We're all busy, but I mean, if you're a Catholic and you're taking your faith seriously, Jesus wants to speak to you, and like it could be just because you're not giving him the room. You know. So I don't know. I think that's a good recommendation.
I think the other thing is if you don't have good Catholic male friends, try to find them, right? Because we
pray for them.
Pray for them.
Yeah.
Go to church. Try to get involved because hopefully what can happen is that we can actually walk with each other in the faith. Also, right? We need to encounter Christ, but we also have to encounter others so that we can call each other on. And the term in this church today is accompaniment, right? It's a buzzword, but it's kind of true. Like we have to walk with each other in the faith, so that we can all grow as disciples of Jesus Christ.
And accompaniment does not mean putting up with other people's sins.
No, it means calling each other on to greatness.
Yes, to holiness.
Because friends don't let friends sin. That's the thing about it.
Truth.
All right. Anything else?
I have nothing else.
Nothing else. I think that's it. I got letters after my name now.
Nice.
Yes.
Thank you, Bishop Conrad.
So can we put that in our show notes or no? Is this like a public document, like to where if
public domain? I'm making no money off of it.
Okay, so we have it. So we'll.
I was gonna ask that too.
Yeah, so we'll add it to our show notes if you want to read.
Anybody wants to read it? Yeah.
60 some odd pages, 70 pages. Feel free.
Okay. Awesome.
It's good though.
Yeah.
It's good stuff.
Good stuff.
This would be this is one thing people do a lot. They're looking for they have a men's group maybe, like they get together monthly, but people are looking for things to discuss.
This would be a good facilitate.
Good
discussion.
you could break this down into three meetings.
Break it down into many meetings.
Whole lot of meetings. So this would be. I think it would be really good for a men's group, like where you could break out into small discussion groups or something. So
I dig.
Maybe use it for that.
There you go.
Father Jon Fincher, thank you so much for spending time with us this evening. Thank you so much for your service to the Diocese of Tulsa in Eastern Oklahoma. Anything else, Dave?
Thanks just for being a cool priest,
Yeah, thanks for being a normal,
thanks for having
cool,
me. I try
holy
to be
man.
normal.
Yeah.
Key.